You're on.
Okay. Spotlight me, please, sir. Can you bring me up in the spot, the main screen?
You are in the spot.
Okay, because I have you in me. There we go. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Saturday Night Live. We are glad you are here. Saturday Night Live is about recovery, and we want you here, whether you're clean or high, drunk or sober. We want to have a chance to be able to help you and to serve you, and we accept everybody here. I love Saturday Night Live because it's one of the few places in the world where I know that anybody can come and there's no judgment. We just love you and want to be able to help you. I know there's a lot of reasons other people are here, but the reason we're here is because we love you and we want what's best for you. We're faith-based, and we're going to present the gospel and God and Jesus and from a biblical principle. But you don't have to believe what we believe, because we love you no matter what, and we're going to work with you for your recovery, because Saturday Night Live is about recovery. It's not about Bible thumping. We can do that in church on Sunday morning. Tonight we're getting healthy, and that's what we're here for. We normally do something with Clean Time, but we haven't been doing that online because it just doesn't work out very well. We look forward to the chance that we get back together and we can celebrate Clean Time. And we really want to honor you guys that are hanging tough and staying clean during this time when we're separated and we don't have the support that we're used to having. So keep the Clean Time up, hang in, make a phone call to somebody if you're desperate, but don't let the devils come back and get you and drag you back down the rat hole again to where you'd have to start over. And we're going to get right into things tonight. So I'm going to ask Kate to read the steps for us. Kate, come on down.
All right. Let me turn this down a little bit. Thank you. Okay, step 1. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, step 1, we admitted that we were powerless over our problems and that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, we made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. Step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Step 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, we made a list of all persons who we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11, we sought through prayer. And meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry it out. And step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
Thank you very much, Kate. We appreciate you.
You're welcome.
And now moving on to the step work. Lisa is going to present step work for us tonight. Lisa, come on down.
Thank you, Paul.
Lisa.
Thank you, Paul. So tonight we're going to be talking about step 6. We were entirely ready to have God remove all of these defects of character. And with the workbook in the Bible, it separates each step into these small little sections. And the section that I'm talking about, that I chose to talk about, is discovering hope. And I would like to say that, first of all, I think that title is a little bit misleading. It sounds all nice and wonderful and exciting, but then when you tie that discovering hope in with we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character, I know that says it's a pause step, but it could be a little bit of a work step as well. So let me just kind of get into it and share with you what I've experienced so far. So it says in the Bible, little section here says, how can we honestly say that we are entirely ready for God to remove our defects of character? If we think in terms of all or nothing, we may get stuck here because we will never feel entirely ready. It is important to keep in mind that the 12 steps are guiding ideals. No one can work them perfectly. Our part is to keep moving, to get as close as we can to be ready. In Jesus' day, there was a pool where people went hoping to experience miraculous healing. One of the men lying there had been sick for 38 years. When Jesus saw him and knew he had been ill for a long time, he asked him, "Would you like to get well?" "I can't, sir," the sick man said, "for I have no one to put me into the pool when the water bubbles up. Someone else always gets there ahead of me." Jesus told him, "Stand up, pick up your mat, and walk." Instantly, the man was healed. He rolled up his sleeping mat and began walking. The man was so crippled that he couldn't go any further on his own. He camped as near as he could to a place where there was hope for recovery. God met him there and brought him the rest of the way. For us, entirely ready may mean getting as close to the hope of healing as we can in our crippled condition. When we do, God will meet us there and take us the rest of the way. And so I read that and I thought, oh, that's wonderful. I love that. That sounds great. I don't have to be perfect. I can just keep working and getting as close as I can to what I feel is right with God and working these steps and improving myself. And so, I thought, well, that sounds pretty good. And then I opened the workbook. And there's a reason that starts with the word work. So it says discovering hope. And I see Doug grinning over here. So, which he does often when I'm up here. So when we are ready, God does his part. Our part is to get rid of the excuses, stubborn resistance, I resemble that remark, holding on to the familiar, and fear of change. Yay, I'm only one sentence in, here we go. When we clear out these blocks and become entirely ready, it becomes clear that God must do the rest, because only he can accomplish the miracle of setting our feet on the path of life again. Question 1. What have been my excuses for not moving forward in recovery? Yay. So there's been, quit laughing, Doug. So there have been several excuses throughout the years, many things that I have come up with. I think the one that I struggle with the most is it's not my fault. It seems to be a chant that has been in my life. It's a justification statement. Interestingly enough, I'm learning in my life. And so it's also, at least as it applies to me, I know that it also can become a victim statement. And so I have to be very careful in watching what I say and how I say it to myself. So what have been my excuses for not moving forward? Some of those things have been, well, it's not my fault. I didn't do it. I'm having to deal with somebody else's choices. And the truth is that it is my choice to sit there and deal with somebody else's choices. I can choose to say that's yours, not mine, and move on. But I found myself stuck often not doing that. And then we come to question 2, excuse me. Have I been stubbornly resistant to becoming entirely ready? Doug's already shaking his head yes. Entirely ready because I have been afraid of change. Are my defects too comfortable and familiar? And interestingly enough, before I pulled this book out to start really studying and reading and refreshing my mind, I had been kind of dealing with some of my own stuff, and my girls were wanting to get their driver's license and their permit, and so I'm having to go through and find documents and go through paperwork that I had around the house, and I came across some paperwork from back in the day that I had been holding on to because in my mind, it was evidence and proof that I didn't do anything wrong. Even though this stuff is so outdated, it's not needed. I've been hanging on to that. And I found myself sitting there going, why do I need this? Why do I need this paperwork? And I realized that I didn't. I was only hanging on to that so I could say, hey, look, I am a good mom, because one of my fears is being seen as not a good mom. And when I realized that I don't have to prove myself to anybody else, I just have to believe that I am a good mom. And I don't need that paperwork to prove it to anyone. And I was able to get rid of it. I was able to lay it aside and say, I do not need to hang on to this old belief anymore. And I think that for some of us, discovering hope is not necessarily about finding something new, but letting go of something old. Sometimes discovering hope is just letting go of that old belief system that we have that's broken. We have these beliefs because that's what helped us survive and get through traumas and troubles and all the stuff that is just life. But at some point in time, those old things, kind of like a car you drove until it just quit running, you don't just keep sitting in the car. You get out and go find a new one. And some of us are still sitting in that broke down car. Even if you put gas in the tank, it's not going to drive you down the road. It's just not going to go anywhere. Doesn't matter if you put oil in the motor, it's just going to fall out. It's broken. And at some point in time, we have to say, this is broken, and it's okay to get something new to get me down the road. We have to become willing. And I think that entirely ready is just about, am I willing to let go of what once worked for me? To be willing to find something new or the possibility of something new. And for some of us, hope is not being where we once were. It doesn't mean it's going to be perfect and a bed of roses. It just means we're not where we once were. And sometimes that's better. And we have to be okay with, I'm better today. Doesn't mean I'm the best I'm going to be, but it means I'm better today, and that's okay. And being okay with that. And then let God just do the rest. So that's what I have on this one. If you are someone who's struggling with this step, maybe you need to discover a little bit of hope and purge yourself of some of those old broken beliefs. So thank you. Back to Paul.
Very good, Lisa. Thank you very much. Did a great job. Yeah, earlier I was thinking about, and you kind of hit going through that. A lot of times we can see where we want to be at, and I looked at this kind of like surgery. I'm in a surgery group with the weight loss people, and they want the goal, we want the end results, but the pain of getting there is so scary that you can't quite get on the path, and that being completely ready means we have to take our eyes off of the path and the obstacles and just look to the other end of the goal and go for that without worrying. I mean, it's going to hurt, it's going to be painful, but it's going to be so much better. Kind of like getting an abscessed tooth pulled or something. Going to have to go through a little bit, but look at the end prize, not where you're at. So anyway, did a great job. Anybody else got comments on? If not, we're going to move right on along, and Deb is going to do the reflection for us. Deb, come on down.
Yes, hello everybody, good evening. And I'm doing the reflection on we became entirely ready, which is step 6. We became entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Well, this time of year is really it's hard for me. I just don't like election years because everybody has an opinion and everybody wants their opinion heard, and that their opinion is the only opinion that is right. And I've had to look at myself actually through this because to watch others when they state their opinion, my opinion really doesn't mean that much. If it's not done in love and caring, especially on the multimedia, when we put it on there and people are looking at that, I mean, when people look at it and we don't really know, we can all agree on some things. And we may, but you don't know who's going through a bad day or a bad time that's looking at those things, that it really hurts them, or what they may have gone through, you know, in the past. I think it comes out with watching our mouths and how we say things. Just to do things in love with all the confusion that we've had in the world the last many weeks now, the riots and stuff. I think we just have to have understanding and some tolerance towards other people's things. We don't know what other people are actually going through in their health crisis, how they're feeling inside. They had a family member die. Yes, we don't know. So we really need to think about how we say things, how we post things on multimedia, and just watch what's going on. So really, that's all I have. I thank you.
It's all right. Thank you much, Debbie. We appreciate you helping us out tonight. And it is really important on how we respect one another's opinions. We're in a time in crisis that's not really happening. Okay, so moving right along, that brings us to Doug time. Doug, come on down.
All right. Thank you, Paul and Debbie. Appreciate that. You know, sometimes we need to remember that it's not all about us, right? And we need to think about what's going on with other folks. And it's kind of like what Mac used to say. He says, you know, you should always be telling the truth, but you don't always have to be telling it. So you know, it's the spirit that brings life, but it's the letter of the it's the letter of the law or the letter of the word that will cut and harm. So we got to be skillful in how we do things. And so I want to thank everybody. Do we want to give everybody a chance to say hello? We want to do that. How about that? And we'll start off with Jason back here.
Hello.
And Zach, we'll let you go next. I'll put you on the spotlight.
I'm Zach. Nice to see everybody.
And Paul, you already said hello, but let's let you do it again.
Hey, everybody. I'm glad you're here. Love you.
Thanks, Paul. Let's go to Angie. Angie, you're on the spotlight. You're on mute. Hang on a second. We're trying to get you off mute. There you go.
Is it working?
We got you now. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Glad everybody's here. And Lisa, that was really good. Thank you.
It was. And we'll talk more about that in a minute, but we'll go to Kate. Hey, Kate, you're on the spot.
Hello.
And Debbie will conclude with you if you want to, you can have another shot of saying hello.
Hello, everybody. Just glad you're here.
And we saved the best to last. This is Lisa, right? So we'll let Lisa.
Whatever. Hello, I'm Lisa. Glad you're here.
Lisa, I thought what you had to say, and something that's several things that you said was really, really good, but I had never got the illustration before about the broken down car and sitting in it. That was good visual. I thought that was good.
That
Thank
was
you.
really good.
So we'll go back to me. How about that? I want to start off by saying I am very glad to be here. We kind of maybe got on a couple of minutes late tonight, and I'm sorry. I apologize for that, Facebook and YouTube. But I'm trying something new again. I'm trying to do it all from down here in the Saturday Night Live room. So I'm running part of the stuff over at the soundboard area, and things didn't work out well. So because Whitney's going to be gone, if we continue to do Facebook, not Facebook, Zoom, we will. I'll need to manage this more by myself, and I'm going to need a lot of help. That was a cry for help, in case you didn't know that. So anyway, while we're talking right now, does anybody have any thoughts about, and I know we're public here, so just keep that in mind. Any thoughts about whether we're going to, well, I think we probably need to go ahead and stay Zoom. I'll just put my opinion out here to start off with. Zoom for a couple of more weeks anyway. We've had increases in Carthage, we've had increases here in Joplin, and I'm not sure where else. And I thought we might as well go ahead and run the rest of the month out in Zoom. We're not going to have a Saturday Night Live meeting on the 4th, which will be 3 weeks out. And so then we'll know more by then. Those are my thoughts. You guys can veto me if anybody has a veto in place.
Good plan.
Thank you, Paul. Lisa's nodding her head, and Zach is giving me his finger. No, that was a thumb. That was a thumb. Okay, all right. So for the viewing folks, I'm glad you're here, and we do try to have fun. Saturday Night Live is about recovery. It's not just about getting clean, even though that's part of it. It's not about getting sober, which is a part of it. But really, Saturday night is about internal recovery, because you can get clean and you can get sober and you can stop watching pornography and you can stop cutting. You can stop being a shopaholic. You can stop raging, and all those things are difficult to do, but you can do them. But you can stop those things and still be, as my friend Anthony Cox used to say, you can still be tore up from the floor up. Okay, you can have you can be a total mess and have enough willpower to refrain from some of those things, but you're just not far away, and I know this is terrible to say, and I'm sorry, but it's still the truth, I believe. You're not far away from a relapse, because willpower alone doesn't do it. You have to change. Thank you, Lisa, for nodding with, she's nodding the yes in that. But we have to make a change on the inside. You have to change your thinking. You need new things to think, and you have to change here in your heart, in your emotional concepts. You have to renew yourself, and that's something that we kind of started talking about last week about soul hunger and trying to deal with those things that are in us, that drive us, that are legitimate needs, but we use different vehicles, unhealthy vehicles, as our literature says, our character defects. We use those character defects to try to get our needs met, but it's like we're continually trying to pour our source of strength into a bucket that's full of holes. And we need to patch the holes, and those are the character defects that I'm talking about. Does that make sense, guys? And so and that doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue to take in and try to fuel ourselves and fill ourselves with good stuff. That's what Discovering Hope is all about, which is what Lisa talked about, okay? And that is that we need to get as close as we can to our hope to get what we can, no matter what. Hi, Monica, I'm glad you're here.
Hi, Doug.
Glad you made it back.
Thank
We're
you.
talking about discovering hope here, and you caught me right in the middle of a rant. So, and so what we need to do to discover hope is don't take ourselves out when we've messed up. We need to keep ourselves in. The story that Lisa talked about earlier about the man at the pool of Siloam, he was there 38 years. And he said that he couldn't ever make the connection because he didn't have anybody to help him. And I think the real story here, Jesus was, maybe one of the stories that Jesus was trying to, or messages that Jesus was trying to convey is, it's been available all along. Just take it, okay? But sometimes we have to change here, and we have to be willing to change here to go ahead and reach out and take it. And this, your terminology that you used, Lisa, I thought was really good. I think it was all or nothing. You know, we think that when we're trying to eliminate these character defects, these issues, these problems, these behaviors, we think it's got to be, it's all got to be gone. But the fact of it is, it never works that way, right? It doesn't. In fact, I'm going to go out on the limb and say, you're going to have stuff there forever and always. You're just going to get better. You're going to get healthier, and you'll learn new ways to fill yourself with what you need to help you to make healthier choices, because we have to feed those soul hungers with healthy things instead of unhealthy things. Oh, that reminds me of something. But before I get into that, does anybody have any comments before I read a quote? Anyone? Raise your hand. I'll spotlight you, or Lisa will. Monica, did you have your hand up?
No, I was scratching my nose.
Oh, okay. Well, I spotlighted you anyway, so everybody saw you scratch your nose. Everybody say hi, Monica.
Hi, everybody.
They're waving at you.
Hi, Monica.
Oh, hi, guys.
All right. I'm locked here somehow. There we try that one. There we go. Did anybody have anything to say before I go back? I don't see anything, so let's go. Okay, here we are. Jason, did you have anything to say?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here tonight.
Jason was walking up here in the alley, and I wasn't for sure who he was because he had his mask on, and I stopped and I said, "Who is that masked man?" And so anyway, I said, "Hey, come on down. You can be with me and share my screen." So I'm glad he did. So we're glad you're here, Jason. I'm going to read this quote. This is out. I've got the book, Soul Hunger. This is the book. And is that coming through all right? Anyway, and I haven't got very far. This has been a busy, hectic week. I got a chapter and a half, I think, so far. And but one of the things that I really liked was addressing this soul hunger issue. Is that he quoted A.W. Tozer, and some of you may be familiar with that, out of his book, The Roots of Righteousness. And this is the quote: "The bias of nature is towards the wilderness, never towards the fruitful field." I'll read that again and then I'll talk about it just a second. This is out of the A.W. Tozer. This is out of The Roots of Righteousness. He says, the bias of nature, I'll just stop right there. Our fallen nature, where we're at, we have an automatic bias towards our lower nature or our flesh nature or whatever we want to call it, our human nature. The bias of our nature is towards the wilderness. In other words, we're always going to the wilderness or something the other than what's healthy, never towards the fruitful field. And I think some of the reasons why we do that is because, well, the scripture says sin has pleasure for a season. Okay, you can get immediate, momentary results with making some of those choices, right? And that's the reason why. And so, therefore, you have a quick return on what you've done, except the long-term effect doesn't work out so well. Would you agree with that? Okay. And so what we have to do is we have to recognize that, and I think this is true in all parts of life. We have to realize that the healthier choice that we can make, the more long-term benefits you'll have, even though they may not be immediate right now, but long-term, there are benefits and they have continuing residuals. In other words, they keep coming, things keep coming in, we're benefited by that. But making unhealthy choices and going to the wilderness or the wild thing, you might want to say, they have a immediate effect, and those effects can be very well long-term also. Would you agree with that? Even though the pleasure is short-term, okay, we know that particularly in drugs, you know, the first high is the best high. After that, it's all downhill, right?
Either way, you reap what you sow.
Yeah, and so the question is, how's all that work out for you? Well, if you make unhealthy choices, then the effects of that are negative or unhealthy. So our natural tendency is to learn to go towards the unrighteous, is the synopsis of A.W. Tozer here. So anyway, comments from anyone? All right, tonight we're going with step 6, which we've already read, but I want to touch on it again and try to tie this together. It says, we were entirely ready to have God remove all those defects of character. And, we're talking about making choices and things like that. We can only, as the story went that Lisa did a really good job with, as the story went, he put himself there, but he didn't, he put himself in the place of being, where he could discover hope. And he had hope all along. And so he had hope all along there, but he needed to go ahead and take another step. But the fact of it is, he couldn't do it on his own. He didn't do it on his own. God did that. And what we have to do, in my opinion, and as the literature refers to, is that we have to allow God to do his part. We do our part by doing our best to get as close as we can to discovering hope and positioning ourselves, and then allowing that to work in us. He says we become entirely ready. That's our part, becoming entirely ready. We have to it says entirely ready, and reality here is we never really get entirely ready. Okay, but we can get more ready, right? Does that make sense? We can have a desire to start making this change, and as we do that, things begin to change in us, and that we're able to embrace what God presents to us. Now, we either embrace it, just like the man at the well did, or we find excuses and we push it away and say, I'm not good enough. I can't do it right now. I'll wait for a better day, or something, whatever we choose. Does that make sense? So finding hope is, somebody want to say something? Yeah, I heard somebody's mic come on. So finding hope here is by reaching out. And to go back to Lisa's illustration there about, and you can tie it in with the guy lying at the pool there. If we have a car and we're needing to get to some place, and that car has been broke down for 1 year to 38 years, tying it in with the story, it's not going to go anywhere. No matter if you wash it, put fuel in it, change the oil, if the transmission is shot, you can even run the engine. Maybe it might keep you cool if you had air conditioning in it, if you're able to get fuel in, but you're going to have to bring a can from someplace of fuel to put it in there. But the fact of it is, it's not going to get you where you want, even if you push the foot feed all the way down. And so we have to realize that even though that may look good, that's not going to get you what you want. And what we have to do is we have to make this connection with God. And what he'll probably say is, like he said to the guy at the well, take a different action. Stand up, pick up your mat, walk. And the point that I get out of this is, you have to do something different than you've always done Because if you don't, you're going to get the same results you've always got. And you say, well, I don't want to make a mistake. I know, I understand that. But the fact of it is, you are making a mistake if you keep doing the same thing over and over. So you may have to take a risk to do something else. You said, well, I don't know if it's correct. Well, if you're really serious, even if it's correct, all you have to do is change it. You have a 50-50 shot of it being correct. And if it's not, and if you make a decision that was wrong, make another decision, okay? And learn from your past choices. Learn from those past experiences.
Hey, Doug, you know, we can even go buy a brand new car, but if you still don't learn how to take care of it, you're going to end up with the same broken down car. It just looks nicer.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I don't know what happened here. I'm working on it. There we are. Okay. So, discovering hope is so important. And so I'm going to restate, I'm going to say the same thing again one more time, but I'm going to say it in a maybe in a little different way. And that is, to discover hope, you can't continue to make, oftentimes, if not all the time, you can't discover if you continually look in the same spot, if you continue to do the same thing over and over. And so you're gonna have to make some new choices, get some new information, go connect with some healthier new people, change the places you're going, you know, do some things that are different. And so in doing that, you're on a search. And Scripture says, seek and you'll find. Because if you don't seek, you stay stuck. You stay stuck in that car that Lisa was talking about that's not going to go anywhere. So does anybody have any comments about what's been said tonight?
Yeah, if you're stuck in that broke down car, to get out of that situation, there's going to be some kind of a cost. Either you're going to have to pay to get it towed and pay for the mechanic, which kind of in this story, God would be our mechanic, or you're going to have to go buy something new, but you're going to have to invest some effort into it. It's not, we don't teach magic here. We have workbooks, and it's going to take work, and there's going to be some pain, but the goal on the other side and the outcome is well worth the investment in yourself.
Very good. Anybody else? Okay, all right. I want to thank everybody for being with us tonight. We will be back and we'll do our Zoom meeting again next week. I'd gotten some texts from some folks saying that they're not going to be able to be with us tonight. And I'm glad Monica was here with us tonight. And Monica, do you have anything to say before we? You've muted yourself, so.
There we go. I said I had something that I wrote that I was wanting to do. I don't know if y'all do it next week. Can you hear me?
Yes, we lost you a little bit, but you're okay now.
Okay. I said I wrote something the other night and I was thinking about my past. And normally I don't write stuff down because I just don't. But I just wrote it and it made me feel so much better. I kind of want to read it to you guys, but I don't know if you have time.
I have time.
Okay.
As long as it's not a
So
half,
it
as
starts
long
off
as it's
like
not a
this.
half hour long.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It says, okay, it says, I'm happy that I am who I am today. There's no more sticky needles in my vein. It doesn't make the pain go away. It makes the pain okay for a day. Sometimes all day. There may even be a day it takes away pain for a moment, but when it wears off, the pain is still there. Even when it's just for fun, it's fun until you have to call 911. I realize today when I bury a loved one, you will see that drugs lead to death or penitentiary. You may get lucky and live on drugs for eternity, but you will never see the pain you cause your loved ones until the day you're all alone on the streets with no place to call home. Or when you call home, nobody answers the phone. It sucks to be alone, but I'd rather be alone than sticking needles in my vein to kill the pain. I figured out people that love you want what's best for you. Trust me, I know this because it's happened to me. This has been my life experience since I was 15. 21 years later, I realized drugs aren't meant for me. And I just want to say to everyone to listen to me, I have love now, more love than ever because I quit doing drugs, a place to call home, family, and friends that love me unconditionally. Now I see my past is what isn't who I'm meant to be. I'm now sober and sobriety is life for me. Nobody can take that away from me. This is my destiny to help people like me.
Woo! Very good.
Thank you, Monica. That's very good. And
I wanted to share that with you guys because I have learned when you were talking about hope, you have to have hope in order to succeed and make healthier choices. You know, every day I wake up, I just keep telling myself I'm getting better, better, and better. And I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to let drugs take over my life anymore. I have 4 beautiful children and they need their mother. And I have friends, I have family, and, you know, healthy relationships with people now. I don't have to worry about somebody stealing my money or robbing me or, you know, just all this stuff that comes along with the drugs. It's just, my life is so much better now.
so your story and what your thoughts there, how does that tie in with what we were talking about here out of Discovering Hope? Got any thoughts on that, Monica?
Well, to me, Doug, I think that if I never had hope, you know, because my whole life I've been told, oh, you're always going to be an addict. You're always going to be worthless. You're never going to do this. You're never going to do that. Your kids will hate you. Finally, I started praying to God, really. And I realized that God loves me. He put me here for a reason where I'm at now. And it's only to make me better. And it has made me better. And I'm getting better. And I will not give up hope. I will not give up hope. No matter how bad if something happens, I know that drugs, if I turn back to drugs, that's not going to help my situation. It's going to make it worse. I just keep having hope and faith in God and, you know, doing me and making healthier choices. And that's how I'm surviving right now.
Awesome. Does anybody have any comments?
Good stuff,
I think it
Monica.
was.
You had something, Zach?
I just want to say it's good stuff, Monica. Good stuff.
That's coming from the heart, Zach.
I
That's
know.
real.
It's
I know it
brave
is.
stuff.
You got this. One foot in front of the other.
Man.
Yes, sir.
I have, thank you, Monica. That's very good. I'm so glad that you're here with us, and I'm sorry that for whatever reason you hadn't been able to be here previously. So I'm glad. And did everybody notice her blonde hair?
Oh, just not really.
I've just been busy, Doug, working.
Okay, well,
Working.
we're glad you're here tonight. We really am. And so I
I'm glad
know
to be
Lisa touched on this question, but I had it down here that I was going to touch on, and said, are your defects of character too comfortable and or too familiar? Any comments from the gallery? Lisa's shaking her head no. Are your defects of character too comfortable or too familiar? In other words, you don't want to let them go. You want to hang on to them. You know, I want to stay in this car that won't run any longer and try to get it to take me down the road. No comments. Okay.
Hey,
All right.
Hey, Doug, I tend to catch myself. It's not that I want to stay there, but it's more as, I don't know, I have trouble getting out of it. I don't know how to explain that, but.
Well, I'll give you a try. Try to explain that.
Yeah, thanks. I find myself just continuing to stay there, and even though I go to try to make it different and to change it, it usually comes back to the same way. I don't know if it's the mindset or what, but it's hard to get out of that in any situation.
Well, there's, the first question that comes to my mind, if you want me to explore this.
Sure, why not?
That sometimes when we're trying to make a change, sometimes our change gets polluted with what we're familiar with. And we get drugged back into what's familiar. And so actually, in a sense, we kind of let go of where we wanted to go and fall back into where we've been. And psychologically and maybe emotionally, that feels a little bit comforting, because launching out into something new is hard and scary. And that's the land of the brave, okay, if you don't mind that terminology. And we're also, a lot of us, we're so afraid of making a mistake, we're willing to we're going back to what's familiar feels, it doesn't feel as bad. Does that make sense? Yeah. Did I stutter around on that very much? I'm gonna give you back the spotlight, Angie, and you can tell me if you got anything out of that.
Yeah, of course. It's I think that's spot on as far as when you get to thinking about it. It's going back and forth, but it's I don't know, sometimes I get scared to move forward. I don't know.
And that's what we're talking about tonight, right?
Yeah.
And thank you, by the way, thank you for your honesty here, because this is not easy, being honest, but it's very real.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I'll take you off the spotlight.
Thank you.
I love you guys. So our defects of character are we too familiar? Are we too attached? Do we really want to let go of those defects? They're very familiar and they're very comfortable. And that's what happens is we're not totally ready. Well, we can't wait until we're totally ready, even though that's what the step said. We're entirely ready. Well, we have to begin right where we're at. and make what steps that we can. So
We may not even recognize that they're defects.
that's very true.
You know, I think that for some people it's hard to recognize that you need to let go of something that you don't see it as a defect. You see it as a defense. It's a tool. It's something in the tool belt. And so I think sometimes that's the struggle, is being able to see it for what it is, and get past the it helped me and find out that now it's hurting me.
Good. Good. And that goes right back to the soul hunger that I was talking about. Is we have a hunger and we're trying to get it filled, and we made a choice, and it was generally speaking, our first choice isn't a healthy choice, but we never ever it never fills. It's an imitation. It's phony, but it does something, but it doesn't do enough. And that's what some of these character defects are about. They're there, and so we get accustomed to them. And it's kind of like, oh, here's one. It's kind of like swinging on a trapeze. Okay, you're swinging from one bar and trying to catch the other, but you don't really want to let go of the one you got a hold of to grab the other one, and you have to let go to grab the other one. And it's scary. It's hard to leave the familiar to go to the unfamiliar. And that's where hope comes in. So thanks everybody for participating. And I'm going to give everybody a shot. It's just a couple of minutes after 8. We started a couple of minutes after 7. So anybody have anything in closing? Any big ideas or any thoughts? Stick your hand up and I will put you in the box. Anybody? All right. Well, I just want to tell everybody thank you for being with us tonight. It is our pleasure to have the opportunity to speak to you. We want the very best for you. I don't have to be right about everything. I desire to be. I want the best for you. We want the best for you because we love you. We're concerned about you, and we want to be here to try to help and support. And so we invite you to connect with us next week, or reach out to us the best you can. And I know we're in a really strange time. It's unprecedented, and so we're all trying to find our way through this stuff. And one of the main things that I want to leave here is, when you don't know what to do, just be kind. How about that? Choose kindness. And that kind of goes to what Debbie was saying earlier about how we interact with each other. And those of us that have that deep rooted hurts and things that need to be healed in us, sometimes that's hard to continue to stay on that approach. And so, but we're all getting better. Hopefully, I'm not as bad as I used to be, but I'm not as good as I'm going to be. So may the Lord bless you, keep you, and may his face shine upon you and give you his peace. Make healthy choices. And I'm going to pass it back over to Paul.
Well, we're glad y'all were here. We hope that we were able to give you a little good information to help change your life. The idea of being completely ready for God to make a change. The first step starts with you. You take a step toward him and he will make your life change and recover is much, much better than the place that you may be today. So keep driving forward to it. We love you. We want what's best, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Angie, I'm gonna unmute you, Angie. I'm gonna try anyway.
Okay,
Glad you were here, Angie.
thank you.
And I was looking for Monica, but I think Monica's already gone. And Kate, thanks for reading, reading the steps for us. Thanks. Thanks, Debbie, for taking care of the reflection. And of course, thank you, Lisa, for doing the step. Appreciate it so much. And Zach, we're glad you're here too. So
Did Jessica Richmar get a hold of you today?
no, I don't know who that is, so I haven't.
We're still live feeding to Facebook. Did you know that?
Jessica and Mike.
I've got to go shut off the feed, so I got to leave the screen. So guess I'm gonna put it back to you. Well, I was gonna put it back to Paul. I'll put it on Zach. How about that, Zach? You can take us out while I go shut the feed off. How about that?
I thought we had already shut off the meeting.
I thought so too.
I'm really confused. Anyway,